Morning, I'm Lynn, and welcome to another day at Ewetopia Farms. Today I think we're going to hit the barley field to see how that's turning out. We planted it, I think, a couple of weeks ago now, and we've had a lot of rain, not a lot of warm weather recently, but something should be happening, so we'll go have a look at that. And I'm still worried today because I haven't seen Buddy. That's the problem when you have wild cats, or any cats actually, on the farm living outside. We've got a busy road here, although I haven't seen any sign of cats getting hit on the road. But Buddy does cross the road all the time. He goes across into the neighbor's bush where there's a stream and stuff. And down there, there's lots of coyotes and stuff, so you always worry that a coyote's gotten him. So I'm still hoping that he's going to turn up, that maybe there's a cat in heat somewhere and he's having fun with her, and then he'll be back. So I'll keep you posted on what happens with Buddy anyway. So we got the laneway open here for these guys. Go on. Go down the laneway. Go on. Go on. Haven't quite discovered it yet. It's a new space, so they don't recognize it. They want to run back to the barn. Just like with the lambs when we first let them out. Because technically these are still lambs too. So lambs have to learn it. Some of them have already run all the way up to the top and run back. Once they figure out it's a nice laneway, they'll like it. No, turn around. Cupcake. Go on. There you go. They got a little grazing here just on the edges so they can get used to it, not get bloated before we let them in the fields.
I'm going to see if they'll follow me back. I'm going to go first.
Probably more likely to follow me back. Go on. Go that way, you guys. So we have the brave group who have gone just in the entryway of the alley. And then we have the cowardly group that's gone back into the barn. But it doesn't take them long to get used to it. But you think that they would naturally want to go outside, but animals naturally want to do what they are used to doing. So if your animals are always at pasture, guess what? They're afraid of barns. They don't understand the confinement and going in doorways and stuff. And that's why a lot of people will say that their sheep on pasture won't go inside in bad weather. It's because they're afraid. They don't know what it is. It's dark, it's scary, it's enclosed, it's a trap. Likewise, if your sheep are indoors all the time, people will say it's cruel to keep them indoors all the time, but when you try to get them out of the barn, they'll do everything in their power to stay in the barn. Because now the opposite's true. The outdoors is a big, wide open, scary space. Like what's with all this open space? What's out here? So it's just the fear of the unknown. And to judge an animal by saying that they'd rather be out on pasture and in the bad weather than go in a barn, or likewise say that the sheep would rather be outside, I think the best way to determine what they really want is to let them have freedom to choose. Like, I can see very obviously that once our sheep are acclimatized to both situations, that in bad weather they 100% always choose to come in for shelter. And in good weather, they 100% choose to be outside enjoying the good weather. So I think that animals want both, just like humans. We want to be able to have our freedom, but we want to feel safe and secure at the same time. The first group we let out was the fall ewe lambs. I just opened the gate now for the February ewe lambs. So a few of them are still at the back gate watching the other sheep that we let out. But these guys all figured out that I had the gate open here for them. And in the lamb barn, they're all eating here. Even Lambert. Lambert's eating right at the very front. Obviously, Arnie spilled grain on his head. But once they've had their grain, I'm going to open the back door for these guys so they can go out too. And then all the lambs will be out now anyway. Arnie says the grass still isn't long enough to let the ewes out. So we're going to wait a little longer. Now we got these two gates open for these guys. The girls are on their way out. Bunch of boys are out. You can see through the curtains, but some are still eating. That's okay. Right now, I think that's Will Lambert over there having a drink of water. So when you wean lambs, you want to make sure that they're drinking water. And when you have this many sheep, it's not always easy to make sure that everyone is. But he just had some, so we're certain of that. Was that good water, Lambert? Yeah, it was good. Hi. You are a good boy, though. Yeah, that was good water. And you were eating, too. There he goes, right back to the food. See, he's settling in better now. What difference a day makes. So someone asked me today what the Canadian policies are on disposing of livestock. And Canada is a country of provinces, and I believe that disposal of dead stock is under the jurisdiction of each of the provinces. So they all have different rules. I know when I lived in Alberta many years ago, you had to bury them in a really deep hole, and you could keep filling the hole up. And then when it got too close to the top, you covered it in. I have no idea if they still do, if that's still the rule today. And where I am in Ontario right now, if you have a cow or a horse or something that dies, you can call a dead stock truck and they take it away and dispose of it. However, they will not take sheep. And I think it has to do with the scrapie thing, but I'm not sure because people assume that sheep can carry scrapie. So in this part of Ontario anyway, you are responsible for burying your sheep. And for us, we bury it in the manure pile. And speaking of manure, the weather's cleared up just a little this afternoon, and Arnie's cleaning out the ewe barn right now. So hopefully he can get that done before they all get sheared. So we bury the sheep in the manure pile deep down at the back, and eventually the bodies disintegrate to basically nothing. And when he gathers it up with the manure spreader and spreads it across the field, they are totally decomposed and the bodies go back to nature and the circle of life continues. I also mentioned that they hadn't seen Thelma and Louise for a while. So here they are right here. The two white ones right at the box. And on the box. So hi, who are you? Which one are you? This one's Louise. Thelma's on the box. So they both come up to me now because they both take the top up of the bottle. They don't take very much, but they are hungry enough that they know that I will give them a little bit of a bottle if they need it, because you know their mom only has half an udder. But they're doing great. They still hang around together. They don't get in the feeder here because it's a little too high up, but they can come through this creep area where these bottle babies are right now, because I was feeding bottles, and they are free to go outside. The door's open and they can go outside. So usually after, this is siesta time now, a lot of the sheep are lying down, but as evening approaches, all the lambs seem to want to go outside at that time, and that's when they have their mad half hour, so to speak. So like in the other barn, Arnie's doing a pathway along the feeder so that nobody gets stuck under the feeder, because even the adults will get it in their head to go lie under the feeder, and when the bedding pack is really high, they seem to have no problem getting in there, but they do have a problem getting out. So if we take it away from the feeder, then nobody can get stuck under there with a high bedding pack. And I think today's getting late, so I'm guessing that he's only going to do this pathway, and maybe he'll attempt to clean out the whole thing tomorrow. I don't know. I do know that he mentioned our barley field, and we are going to go have a visit there and see how things are doing. Probably we'll do that tomorrow. We've got rain now. It was dry, but now we've got rain for the next 2 weeks straight, it seems. So opposite problem, can't get in the field at all, so we're really lucky we got that barley in.
Yeah, I think I'm a little gate there.
Your little gate. This one? What about it?
Broke it off.
You broke it off? How?
Well, I caught that little tent. See that little bent tent there?
Oh yeah.
So I'm gonna rebuild it and take that tent off. The tent's a nuisance.
Here's our Dorset keeper group. They're looking pretty good now. They're starting to put their weight back on after having had lambs. It was raining this morning, but right now I'm going to go let the lambs out in the field. Right now we've come out to look at our barley field. By the haze on this field, you can see it just starting to come up. Oh yeah, that's right. This is really a hay field, but we're overseeding it.
See the alfalfa seeds?
Really?
Right there. It's not all up yet. Some of
Those
the
little round things point to, yeah, that's alfalfa apparently.
Yeah. That's probably well, some of them could be weeds, but not likely.
But the stuff sticking up in a row is barley. Is that right?
That's right. It's not all up yet, so it's just a lot of barley still coming in. But it's a little dry. See there? Oh, there's a seed there. See all the grass seeds? See it there coming? See? So another rain again for the week. This will be greened up pretty quick. This field here, this land's all tile drained, every 45 feet strips. This is quite a high field, a really good drainage anyhow. So this has been seeded down with a grass seed mixture of about 70% alfalfa and 30% grasses. So what we done here was we didn't seed down just pure grass seed, because we're concerned about having a dry summer where the grass seed burns off. That's one thing that could happen, and the second thing that could happen if you just put straight grass seed down is if the grass seed had a little hard time coming up and doesn't form a canopy real quick, what will happen is, with just straight grass seed, is you could form a lot of weeds, and then the weeds will quickly become competition for the grass seed. So the way to prevent that is to do a thing called a shade crop. So you can see now the barley is coming up first, and the grass seed's a little bit behind the barley. So once the barley is up 3 or 4 inches high, the grass seed will be up a half an inch high, and that barley will form a shade crop over the field to protect the grass seed from drying out. And we'll show you later on, the barley is not the barley is planted at 55 pounds an acre, not at 130 pounds an acre of a regular barley crop. So it's only at 55 pounds an acre, and that will form a shade to protect the grass seed. And you'll have a shade, but it won't be competition for the grass seed. It'll just form enough shade. It's hard to explain, but later on we'll show you what happens when the barley comes up. The barley will look nice and thick, but when you actually look into it, you can actually see the ground all over the place. So it's not going to be competition for the grass seed. And determining how the summer turns out, we'll probably take all the heads off the barley. No straw, just cut the heads off, and we'll take the grain off, and all the stubble we'll just leave in the field for protection for the winter months to have the snow set in like a snow fence. And that'll be hard to explain too, but later on we'll show you how that will turn out. So the grass seed was about 22 pounds an acre of grass seed, 70% alfalfa, 30% grasses, and about 55 pounds an acre on barley seed. So if you go online, they actually recommend that you use, for a shade crop, you use oats. Because the difference with oats is a shade crop, but the downfalls with using barley like we use, when you have this cold, wet weather, what we're going to have for a whole week now, what happens is see that barley, how it's come up? And what happens if it gets cold and wet is the barley won't come up any higher. It actually starts shooting out more shoots. And the more shoots it puts out, it starts to defeat the purpose of a shade crop. It starts to be competition for the grass seed. So I think if you go online, they prefer that you use oats. Oats doesn't shoot out so much. Barley can get quite aggressive. But I did cut the barley down to 50 pounds an acre, which should be a low enough number to keep that under control. And this field has been cropped for about 10 years. It needed a break. This field needs to be under hay again, natural, that organic matter with the root system. And this field will probably, if everything turns right, I think this field, I think you're going to agree with me, could be for 8 years, eh? And 8 years, where will we be? We'll be done farming probably. So that's the goal.
You think this is going to last 8 years?
Oh yeah. This field here is 25 acres. I'm going to think we're going to get 150 bales on the first cut. We'll probably get 150 on second, and 125 probably on third. So this field should produce 400 bales of hay a year.
On a normal year.
I'm thinking alfalfa will grow. Alfalfa has a fantastic root system, and even in drought conditions, it comes right back. That's the advantages of alfalfa. So the disadvantages with alfalfa is, as a rule of thumb, if you can't afford to lose it, you can't afford to grow it. And alfalfa, you could lose it. On a winter kill, can kill it out really badly if you have a bad winter. So
what's a bad winter?
I'm not a real professional in talking that, but there is called winter kill, where you have the heaving of the ground before you get snow and insulation to protect the ground. You get a lot of heaving, and it snaps off that alfalfa's root, and then the alfalfa is dead now. So again, you could probably explain it better than I can, but it's called winter kill, whereas it can get. I think what happens is the field gets really wet and saturated, and then you get a real heavy frost that freezes the ground, and it kills off the alfalfa. Which, if you get a layer of snow on there, it's like insulation. It protects the alfalfa.
Yeah, and I think that goes along with Nowadays the winters, you get a lot of snow and then it all melts away and you think spring's coming, and then you get snow again. I think the freezing, thawing, melting doesn't help the alfalfa either.
Well, I would question that. I would think. Do you know what used to really kill the alfalfa out? Remember when you were younger, you used to get that like 10 below zero, 20 below zero, where it was just unbelievable cold. And I think that what was heaving the ground up, that hot, really, really cold temperatures, which global warming, we're not getting it. The winters aren't as hard anymore. So I would probably debate that to say you could be right, but I'm thinking the winters are more milder now, right? So if people want to know my grass seed mixture, I'm willing to tell them what I put in the grass seed for a hay field, but that's really not. I'm not a grass seeds person, so I probably shouldn't talk about that. The grass seed mixture I use. Me and Lynn have picked it out. It's what we agree on, and there's certain grasses we don't want to grow, that we don't think is practical. But if people are interested in that, we can have a talk about that. And I still have the label of the grass seed mixture, because there is about 7 different type of grasses in here. 1 alfalfa, and the other 6 are a different type of grasses. They add a little fiber to that, add a little bit of grasses to alfalfa. So I think that's all I got to say about the field today. And in a week from now, this whole field should be green. You can actually, I don't know if you can see the green tint. Can you see the green tint on it?
Not so much that way, but you can this way.
Yeah. So you know why the barley is growing better up there, because that's a little bit loamier ground, so it was more finer, so it had a better it germinated better. Which where we're standing right now is a pretty heavy clay, so it germinated a little bit later. So that's a little sandier loam, and if you look up there, that hill is all kind of high loamy ground, so it germinates better, right? But I'm real happy with everything. It's going really good. So this barley was up in 7 days, I think, eh? I told you.
I think so.
In 7 days, it was out of the ground. And I think right now it's about 9 days since we planted it, I think, isn't it? I think. So,
Okay.
if anybody wants any more information about that, just ask me and I'll explain it.
So now we're at our fall barley field.
So this is fall barley. It was planted last fall. When was it planted? I think we planted it middle of September.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know when we planted it. You have to look into that. But it was planted. It actually grew up, burnt off over the winter, and it's actually regrown now. It's about 4 inches high, I think, and it's doing really well. And this will be the first crop to come off in the summer. This will come off probably in July, end of July, and it's well established. So the nice thing about fall crops is, you notice how my other barley is barely coming through. Well, you see how much of an edge this here has in the fall. This was planted in the fall. This has got like a whole month ahead of the other barley. So that's the advantage of this. And this is the first year we tried it. It's fall barley, and the reason why we didn't grow wheat is because we want the barley and we want the straw for the sheep. So I can't feed wheat to the sheep, so I can feed barley to the sheep. So that's why we grew barley. We only put in 20 acres. We just did a test plot. We just tried it, and this is not a very profitable field for me. So we just put it on the barley, and we're just kind of trying it out. No grass seed. This is just pure barley. At 140 pounds an acre, I think, on seed, and we should easily get 2 tons an acre on grain off this. So that would be lots of barley for my own sheep, and we'll probably sell some of the barley off.
And then what's going in here when you take it off?
I'm not sure. I'm thinking about putting some wheat in maybe in next fall. Go back into wheat.
You just said that you didn't want to grow wheat.
I know, but I have too much land and I have too much crops, and I'm trying to break my load. And
so why wouldn't you just grow barley again?
You could grow barley again. Yeah.
Or can you not go back to back?
Yeah, you can go back to barley. The issue I'm having is cereal grains are quite friendly to the ground, but growing beans every year is not recommended, and it's not friendly to the ground. And corn is extremely draining to the ground. So I have a lot of my lands under corn, most of it's under beans, and I just want to rotate my crops a little bit. So might dip into the wheat a little bit, maybe do some more barley. The trouble with barley is, I think barley last year I think barley went about $2.80 a ton, I think. And I think wheat is about $4.50 a ton. So you make a lot more money on wheat. It pays back better. Barley doesn't pay back that well.
This is my idea for the field. See this field? See those 2 holes? Every year he tries to drain them and they don't drain, even though they're tile drained. But look at how pretty it would be if you actually dug them deeper and let them be a natural pond. And this laneway, you could put a laneway in right between the 2 ponds, and you have your little ducks swimming in there, some willow trees around it. And at the back there's a hill where the ground's higher, where you put in your new house and you sell this place off as a lot. And that's extremely profitable. Just because I can't stand not knowing true numbers, I went and checked on Google to see what commodity prices were right now. I could only get February's rates, but wheat was in the $3.70 a ton range, barley was in the $3.65 per ton range, corn was at $3.27, and soybeans was the killer, $750 a ton. So just wanted to get those numbers out there, because you can throw numbers out and they change from month to month, year to year. But that was as of February this year. But also when you're trying to determine which crop is more profitable for you, you have to realize that certain crops are heavier, so they'll give you more tons per acre. Like corn, you're gonna get an average of 4 tons an acre, whereas soybeans, you're gonna get like 1.5. And wheat is heavier than barley, about double the weight. So you have to calculate all that in, and then you have to calculate which fields require more fertilizers, do they need fungicides, things like that. So it's not as cut and dry as you might think. Well, 'tis that time of day again when I'm gonna say goodbye. Just on that competition thing, people are writing some really fun things with wanting to get the rubber boots, which is awesome. I'm gonna leave that up for, I think I said till May 1st, and then I'll count all the likes that people got. So, you know, you've got a few days to keep going back to that video and giving people likes, and we'll see who the winner was on May 2nd or thereabouts. I think we're shearing that day, so it might be the day after. But anyway, good luck on that. And thank you for joining us today. And I hope you'll join us again tomorrow. See you next time. Bye.